How the Boston Red Sox have officially become the worst team in baseball.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The biggest stage in world soccer is here. Let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started now. Welcome to the show. Normally I would say happy Thursday or insert whatever day it is, but it's not a happy Thursday. It's actually a very sad Thursday because the Red Sox have officially cemented themselves as the worst team in Major League Baseball. What's gone wrong this season? An update on Caleb Durbin. Does Craig Breslow survive the trade deadline? Lots to discuss on this episode, but the Boston Red Sox have officially cemented themselves as the worst team in Major League Baseball. Now, granted, their record is 32-46. The Rockies have a record of 32-49. So theoretically, from a record perspective, the Rockies are still worse because they've dropped a few more games. So their winning percentage is lower than the Boston Red Sox. But the Rockies just took 2 of 3 from the Red Sox. So what exactly does that say about a Boston Red Sox team that cannot beat anybody? They have officially become the worst team in Major League Baseball. You cannot lose 2 of 3 against the Colorado Rockies, especially in a game in which you score 6 runs. A game in which you score 6 runs in general should be able to win a game. If you can't win that game, there's no hope for your team. And this is a team that going into this season, there were a lot higher of expectations for than what they're actually showing. And while I felt like the offense was flawed going into this season, I didn't think they'd be this bad. And this is a team that has no chemistry. Things are not going right. You could blame injuries all you want, but that's only a small part of what's leading to the Red Sox struggles this season. And it's unfortunate because the Red Sox actually did get good stuff from Ranger Suarez. He threw 6 innings, gave up 7 hits and just 1 run with 1 walk and 9 strikeouts in the series finale yesterday. Good outing from him. He threw 102 pitches through 6 innings. That is a game that he should be able to win. If your team is putting up the runs needed and he's only giving up 1 run, he should win that game. But the bullpen could not hold it down. And granted, the defense also didn't help with that. The Red Sox were very sloppy in this game, but Justin Slayton, again, didn't have it. He's been struggling a lot this season, especially after coming back from his injury and even really dating up to last season, towards the second half of last year. He really started to struggle then, and it's been carrying over into this season. And that's been frustrating to watch because Justin Slayton used to be a guy you could rely on a lot out of the pen, and he's just no longer at this point a high leverage arm. And that's something the Red Sox are going to have to look in the mirror and admit about this team is, well, outside of Garrett Whitlock and Aroldis Chapman, what does this bullpen actually have that we can rely on in high leverage? And if Aroldis Chapman gets traded at the trade deadline, then they don't have a closer. Then they're kind of mixing and matching. That would be a good opportunity to try to get some of the prospects, some looks, potentially some guys that are in AAA. I talked about prospect Franklin Arias on the show recently. He is down in AA, but maybe he's a guy that you give a promotion to give him an opportunity to showcase what he can do, even if he doesn't skip right to the major league team, but gets promoted at least to AAA to kind of move closer to that goal of being a Major League Baseball player, because the future is definitely bright. And the Red Sox have a lot of bright spots when it comes to the players moving forward that are going to be part of the core. But the reality at the end of the day is that this Boston Red Sox team right now has dug itself too deep of a hole. And while the pitching was ultimately what did them in yesterday. The offense in general is what hasn't been winning them games. They recorded a lot of hits yesterday, 11 hits to go with their 6 runs, but they were at Coors Field, which is an insanely hitter-friendly ballpark. I mean, Trevor Story killed it when he was playing in Colorado. Then he comes to Boston and struggles to hit at Fenway Park. Kind of goes to show that Coors Field has a lot of opportunity for hitters to succeed. So the Red Sox were able to put up a lot of runs yesterday, but that's not saying much. In general, this is an offense that hasn't been able to score all season, and it's been going along with what's overall been a solid starting rotation. People thought that the rotation would completely fall apart without Garrett Crochet, but it actually really hasn't. Guys have been holding their own. Sonny Gray, Ranger Suarez, Connolly Early, Peyton Tolley, Jake Bennett. Those guys have been stepping up and performing in the absence of Garrett Crochet in the starting rotation, and the rotation has been able to hold its own and has been able to win games as much as they can, but the Red Sox offense isn't giving them much to work with. When you have a pitcher who's giving up a couple runs max, you feel pretty good about that pitcher getting a win. Not when you have this Boston Red Sox team, because if the pitcher gives up 2 runs, the Red Sox will only score 1. Or if the opposing pitcher gives up no runs because the Red Sox can't score and they have a starting pitcher on the mound who gives up 1 run, it's disappointing because the offense just doesn't give the starting pitchers really any room for error, which puts more pressure on them and probably throws off a little bit of their game, at least mentally. Then you are missing the leadership of Alex Bregman. That's something that's truly done the Red Sox in this year too, is when this team is going through slumps, there's nobody who's really helping them get out of it. And I like Willson Contreras, and I feel like he's a guy who stepped up and been a good leader for this team. Trevor Story is supposed to be a veteran leader, but it's hard for him to step up and be that true leader that the team needs when he's also hurt too. But Alex Bregman was that glue last year that kept this Red Sox team together and kept it on track. He was the guy that when the Red Sox last season would be struggling, he would help get them out of it. He would help get them out of that slump of saying, okay, we've got this. This is how you move on and continue to play good baseball despite the fact that you're struggling. And he would help them get back on track to the point where their slumps wouldn't last as long. This year's team, their slumps are what they are. They're not even slumps. They're just a bad baseball team. And nobody is climbing them out of those hardships that this team is going through. A team that's very much still young overall, with a lot of guys who are hungry and want to win, but don't always know how to step up in the big moments and don't know how to get their minds right when they are struggling. And it's a big trickle down effect. So missing Alex Bregman's leadership is a big reason why the Red Sox have gotten themselves to this point where they are basically considered the worst team in baseball because they couldn't beat the worst team in baseball in a series. That feels like the ultimate low. They should have gone into Colorado and been able to sweep that team. But instead, they went into Colorado and completely folded and fell in 2 of those 3 games. That basically solidifies that if you can't beat the worst team in baseball, then you are the worst team in baseball. So it's the correlation between the pitching and how good it's been and the complete lack of offense and how on opposite ends of the totem pole there, those 2 things have been this year. That combined with missing Alex Bregman's leadership on top of the fact that they've had injuries to some key players has all led to where we are today. Plus the fact that the Red Sox core isn't performing. The Red Sox expected a lot more from guys like Jarren Duran and Roman Anthony. Obviously he's hurt now, but he to start the season wasn't great before he got hurt. So he's a player they were hoping to see more from this year. Marcelo Mayer, absolutely, they were hoping to see more of from the offensive side of the ball. They were hoping he was going to contribute a lot more. Caleb Durbin is starting to heat up and has hit well in the month of June, but the first couple months of the season, he wasn't doing much offensively. So you look at certain players, Carlos Narvaez, you could also put in that group as a player who needs to be doing more and that the Red Sox were expecting to do more. You can pinpoint a lot of players in this core group that the Red Sox were expecting would step up more this season than they have been. So that's another big reason why the Red Sox are now considered the worst team in Major League Baseball, because it's hard to win games when several players in your core that helped you get to the playoffs last year are just not performing at all this year. Trevor Story obviously hurt now, but before he got hurt, he was really disappointing at the plate. And the Red Sox were hoping that he was going to have a season similar to what he produced last year, which was definitely an organizational mistake to just assume that was going to happen. But he's another example of a player who, while hurt now, wasn't performing at the level he should have been. So you have several players that just aren't performing the way that they should be. And if those guys were performing the way they should be, things would not be bad for the Boston Red Sox. They really would not be. If they were able to score some more runs, not even drastically a lot more, just some more runs, they would be in the playoff conversation easily. And it's so frustrating because with the way that Craig Breslow built this roster, he obviously made some good acquisitions. Like he brought in Willson Contreras, who's been one of the best hitters on the team this year. He obviously made some key moves on the pitching side to bring guys in. So you looked at the roster going into the season and you really didn't think it was going to be this bad. I really didn't think that all of those players that I listed were going to have as bad of a season offensively as they are. So then when you combine all of that together, you make a bad baseball team. And it's frustrating because they've got to beat the teams that they need to be beating. The Colorado Rockies are an example of one of those teams that they have to be beating. And then they went into Colorado and couldn't beat them. So what's the low point? Is this the low point of the season? I can't really think of another one besides losing 2 of 3 to the Rockies. But either way, the Red Sox have now gotten themselves to the point of conversation of being considered the worst team in baseball. And that's not great. Coming up, though, the man who was behind the offseason and the roster that we're seeing unfold here, Craig Breslow. Is time ticking for him? ED is way more common than most guys think, and millions of men deal with it at some point. HIMSS offers a simple, convenient way to take care of your health by connecting you with licensed healthcare providers online and giving you access to personalized treatment options from the comfort of home. So that way you're avoiding awkward appointments and pharmacy lines, so you're taking up a lot less time by still being able to meet with a treatment person without feeling like you have to expose yourself to the public or take time away from the rest of your day. Taking care of yourself shouldn't feel complicated, and HIMSS makes the process private and easy to navigate. It's healthcare built around your schedule and your comfort. When something is already uncomfortable to talk about, the last thing you want is a complicated process. Having the ability to start online from home makes taking that first step feel much more manageable. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/lockedonmlb. That's hims.com/lockedonmlb for your free online visit. hims.com/lockedonmlb. Prescription required. See website for details and important safety information. Sildenafil is the generic version of Viagra. Viagra is a registered trademark of Viatris Specialty, LLC. HIMSS is not affiliated with or endorsed by Viatris. The biggest stage in world soccer is here, and every single match feels like it has the potential for a memorable moment. One goal can completely change the energy of a game, shift momentum, and alter the outcome in an instant, and it could even change the entire trajectory of a team for the rest of the tournament. And that's what makes it so exciting from the opening whistle to the final kick. And now FanDuel is giving fans another reason to stay locked into every match with every goal pays. All you do is just bet on a match, and then you get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. Essentially, more goals mean more bonus bets. So all you have to do is turn on your token, and it makes it so easy. We've seen all those matches where it's scoreless for what feels like forever, and then one goal completely flips the game. Suddenly, everyone's pressing, the crowd comes alive, and the final 20 minutes become must-watch television. And now you get to benefit from each goal that's scored. From the opening whistle to the final kick, let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started now. Get your daily Red Sox coverage completely ad-free by joining the Everydayer Club today. Start your 7-day free trial right now and get closer to your team without the interruptions. Click the link in the show notes or go to LockedOnRedSox.supercast.com to claim your free trial. Well, the Red Sox lost a series against the Colorado Rockies, and quite frankly, they should feel embarrassed by that. This is the type of team that they need to beat. You can't go out there and completely fold and let the worst team in baseball win a series against you. You just can't. It's pathetic. It's embarrassing. And their performance was embarrassing, just like the entire team's been embarrassing this year. And the man behind all of that, Craig Breslow, the man pulling the cards. Now, granted, ownership ultimately is in control of the decisions that get made because John Henry is the one writing the checks to the players, but Craig Breslow is the one who is negotiating, making the moves to better this team or worsen this team, unfortunately. He's the one calling those types of shots. So the question about Craig Breslow now becomes, does he survive the trade deadline? It's been reported that his job's not in jeopardy. Sam Kennedy has endorsed Craig Breslow, and there have been a lot of discussions between the Red Sox internally where they have vouched for him and said they believe in him to make the right decisions that are best for the Boston Red Sox. So obviously, if behind closed doors, his job is in jeopardy, they're never going to come out and say that publicly. So take that with a grain of salt that they're endorsing him publicly, because again, all of these people are PR trained. So even if they weren't having faith in Breslow to get the job done, or they didn't believe that he could be the guy to make the right moves here at the trade deadline, they wouldn't come out and say that. So here's where I could make the argument that Craig Breslow should survive the trade deadline, because obviously you look at the way the team has been put together and you think, wow, this is an absolute disaster. But not everything that Craig Breslow has done has been bad. For example, when they traded Brandon Clark and Richard Fitz to the Cardinals for Sonny Gray and cash, that was a good move. That move is looking like a win. Going into the winter, one of the biggest items on the Red Sox shopping list was a number 2 starter after they had to go with Brian Bayo in game 2 of the wild card series last year against the Yankees. And they got Sonny Gray, and he has truly been stepping into that role. Obviously, Garrett Crochet is still considered the ace of the squad. He's hurt. Sonny Gray has more than pulled his weight for this team. So that was a good move that Craig Breslow made for this Boston Red Sox team. Right now, he's sitting at 9-1, and he's currently holding a third of all the Red Sox victories this year, which is pretty crazy. The money gets complicated and will continue to get more complicated if he is moved in the next 6 weeks, but nobody would take back this trade. Sonny Gray has definitely done his job for this Red Sox team. When the Red Sox in the offseason acquired from the Pirates Adonis Guzman, Johan Oviedo, and Tyler Semeniego in exchange for Jesus Travieso and the password Joe Sing Garcia, this is kind of a nothing deal right now. I mean, the password hasn't found success in Pittsburgh, and Oviedo has spent almost the entire year on the IL. So that's kind of a neutral trade right now. But hopefully Oviedo is able to pitch in the second half, because then the Red Sox will feel like they're at least getting something out of the biggest player name that they got back in that trade. When they acquired Jake Bennett, that wasn't a bad move for the Red Sox either. He's the big lefty long extension type of profile that the Red Sox like, and he's starting to settle into the back of the rotation after also posting a 1.60 ERA and 9 starts with Worcester. they traded Louis Perales to the Nationals for Bennett, and Perales still has a high ceiling, but he's shown no signs of getting closer to reaching it yet in 2026. So this right now is looking like a positive move for the Red Sox because of how good Jake Bennett has been in the short sample size that we've seen from him. So again, another good Breslow move. A great Breslow move, traded Blake Aida, Yoiker Fajardo, and Hunter Dobbins to the Cardinals for Willson Contreras. I would not take back this trade at all. Willson Contreras has definitively been the Red Sox best hitter this season. And the crazy thing about it is he's exactly what the Red Sox needed on paper, but it just hasn't made any sort of difference in the Red Sox record. He's right-handed. He mashes. He's having the best season of his career right now, slugging-wise. He's filled the hole at first base that the Red Sox had. He plays above-average defense. He brings a veteran presence in the clubhouse, and he takes a good at-bat in high-leverage spots. So that fits a lot of the need that the Red Sox had this offseason for a reliable right-handed bat. They desperately needed that. They still needed to get another one. That's a big issue that I still have with Breslow. But in terms of at face value, what that trade is, Willson Contreras is performing exactly the way that the Red Sox needed him to. He has an .896 OPS, which is just 30 points off the highest OPS of any right-handed bat in baseball, which belongs to Yandy Diaz. Thanks to the top 7 OPS guys in the sport all being left-handed this year. And there's been some pretty interesting evidence starting to pile up that ABS is helping the lefties. So when it comes to Contreras, definitely a good move by Breslow. On January 9th, they signed Tyrone Guerrero as a free agent. This is a reclamation project that has worked out well for the Red Sox overall. The good news is he's throwing triple-digit gas for strikes. I mean, he just is a flamethrower, just throws the ball really hard. But the bad news is he's 35, and the Red Sox should be trying to move for him at the trade deadline for future value. This was a win for Breslow, though, overall, because his first couple outings with the Boston Red Sox this year were kind of tough, but after that, since then, he actually has been pretty reliable for this team. He did give up 3 runs in yesterday's game, but they were all unearned runs, so they weren't even on him. So he overall has been good for this team. Another big free agent move that Breslow made that was good, when they signed Ranger Suarez to a 5-year, $130 million deal after missing out on Alex Bregman. This was the key moment of the whole offseason. Alex Bregman and the Red Sox missing out on him definitely was a big blow for this team. They should have tried to lock him up earlier, but poor communication skills, misreading the market perhaps, that all could have played a factor in the Red Sox not being able to secure Alex Bregman. That led to a pivot to spend the money that was going to go to Bregman on Suarez, because at that point in the offseason, there wasn't much else left on the shelves. So Suarez has been another really good addition for this Red Sox team. And this move we're probably going to look back on and say it was extremely favorable for the Boston Red Sox, but it has left the team with a surplus of starting pitchers and a gigantic hole at third base right now, which leads into the Caleb Durbin trade when they traded Shane Rohan, David Hamilton, and Kyle Harrison to the Brewers for Durbin, Andrew Monasterio, and Anthony Siegler. Obviously, Craig Breslow was trying to get a young, cost-controlled left-handed starter, and they were trying to ultimately look for somebody in return from a trade for a cost-controlled left-handed starter who is reliable at third base. And Durbin just started hitting this month, but overall, that trade's kind of been tough because losing Harrison hasn't hurt the Red Sox this year because the issue isn't really with the rotation. The issue is more that Caleb Durbin offensively hasn't really stepped up, but even still, despite all of that, you can see that he fits into the puzzle with his defense. So I get what Craig Breslow was going for, but Durbin needs to continue to step up a lot offensively before I can sit here and say, yeah, this was a great trade by Craig Breslow. When they signed IKF as a free agent to a 1-year, $6 million deal, I think they should have shot higher than that. but at that price and with the team's holes, he's been fine as a utility guy. If he comes off the IL quickly, the front office will probably be able to trade him at the deadline, hopefully for a decent return. And they go and get IKF and think he'll be a good leader for this team too. So overall, when you look at all the moves that Craig Breslow made this offseason, it really wasn't a total disaster. And the majority of those moves have worked out well for the Red Sox, and the majority of those players has performed. The issue is that the rest of the core isn't really performing, and the issue is that Breslow didn't really do as much as he should have to address certain needs on the roster. And another issue is last year's trade deadline was a disaster for him. So you could point to that and say Breslow shouldn't survive this trade deadline because last year's deadline was a disaster. But when you look at the overarching picture of where this team is at right now, it really isn't the moves he made that have served as an absolute disaster for this team. Ultimately, what it is it's the guys who were already here, who the Red Sox saw as part of their core, who aren't stepping up. And that's been the biggest thing that the Red Sox have run into trouble with. So I actually don't hate the idea of Breslow going through this trade deadline, because if the Red Sox are in fact going to sell, which at this point they should, I don't trust that he'll get bad players in return. Because even with the Rafael Devers trade, obviously he moved on from all those players he got back. But overall, outside of Jordan Hicks, that trade wasn't a disaster in terms of the player return. He got talent back. So when you think about the level of talent he's been able to acquire, I don't think he has a problem with identifying good talent. So you should probably keep him through the trade deadline and let him at least see this vision through, since he kind of knows exactly what the needs would be for this team. And he can help hopefully set this team up for success moving forward, because his moves haven't been nearly as disastrous as people would like, obviously, because he's the man in charge and he hasn't done it enough to improve this team. That really makes it look like he's a disaster and that he's 100% at fault for not improving this team earlier. But overall, when you look at what he has done for this team, on one hand, you say, yeah, I don't trust him. On another hand, you can say, well, he already started this. Why doesn't he just see it through? The trade deadline this year is huge for the Red Sox because you don't want to set this team back by another 5 years. If you're going to commit to a rebuild, you have to do it right. So Craig Breslow, who knows the guys he acquired, he should see that project through. And if it ends up being a disaster, you get rid of him in the offseason and bring in somebody new with a fresh face to be able to address the team in the offseason and kind of start from scratch. Because you can't really start from scratch at the trade deadline. It's just difficult to. So it'd be hard to change the executive in charge of that prior to the trade deadline. So I think Breslow does survive the deadline because in a way, his moves that he's made haven't been terrible. And hopefully he's able to get this team set up for the future, because this team now, and what would be beneficial would be to sell off some of those veteran pieces and try to acquire guys who they can rely on to be part of the future in the longer term. So ultimately, does Breslow survive the trade deadline? I believe he will. And ultimately, I think he's going to move on from some of the veteran players, and hopefully he can get some good prospect talent back for those guys. But we'll have to see how that plays out. But coming up, a positive update on Caleb Durbin after a scare yesterday. Running a business just shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent. It's about having everyone working together toward the same goal. And that's true in sports, just like it is in business. When the Red Sox make moves, you may not always see in the short term that it's beneficial, but the longer term, you kind of start to see the overarching picture over time of, okay, why does this move make sense for the Red Sox long term? It wasn't a reactionary move to trade for a guy like Willson Contreras or Caleb Durbin. This was, okay, how can we set this Red Sox team up for success now and in the future? Everything's planned out and strategic. And that's how companies become successful. Great organizations win because operations matter. And that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. Indeed is a way to stop workplace chaos when it comes to hiring candidates. Indeed sponsored jobs actually helps you reach candidates who fit what you're looking for a job that's open based on skills, experience, and location, so that you're not just mindlessly scrolling through resumes. Finding the right person can make all the difference, whether it's building a business or building a winning team. Some of the best moves that organizations make aren't always the splashiest ones. Sometimes it's finding the person who fits exactly what the team needs at the right moment. That's what stood out to me here. And it's the same idea behind Indeed sponsored jobs, helping connect organizations with candidates who are the right fit from the start. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/LockedOnRedSox. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnRedSox right now and support this show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/LockedOnRedSox. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. I used to work in recruiting, and when I tell you I wish I had Indeed sponsored jobs, I truly wish that I did. It would have been an absolute life changer for me in that job and would have made things way easier. So make sure you utilize it in your next hiring process. Red Sox lost their series against the Colorado Rockies after an 8-6 loss yesterday, and this feels like the low point of the season. It just is what it is. Cannot lose to the worst team in baseball a series and then expect to be looked at and taken seriously as a franchise moving forward. It's unfortunate, and it really is not where the Red Sox were hoping to be, but here they are sitting with a record of 32-46. Tied with the Rockies for the least amount of wins in Major League Baseball. It's pathetic and it's embarrassing. 100% embarrassing. And another thing that was unfortunate that happened for the Red Sox was Caleb Durbin had a scare. He partially dislocated his pinky during a head-first slide. So he ended up leaving Wednesday's loss to the Rockies in the top of the third inning after he made the decision to slide head-first into the first base bag. He said, I've done it a million times before and I've seen way worse injuries from it. Probably won't do it again anytime soon. You hear all the time that it's slower to dive in, but instincts take over and obviously regret it. But again, very happy that the outcome isn't as bad as it could have been. Chad Tracy said after the game that Durbin's finger was kind of facing a direction it shouldn't, but the finger was put back into place. So as gross as that sounds, that is unfortunately what happened. X-rays on the finger came back negative, which was good. After struggling through the start of the season, Durbin has put together a solid June, hitting .303 on the month with 8 RBIs and 4 home runs. So it would be tough for the Red Sox if he went to the IL because this is just as he's starting to heat up. So if he were to get on the injured list, it may be difficult for him to hit like that right away upon coming back. So him trying to avoid an IL stint is good for the Red Sox because that means that he's feeling optimistic and hopeful that he won't need to go on the IL because he is feeling like he feels fine and that it won't be necessary. The Red Sox have a quick turnaround after yesterday's loss because they open up a 4-game series with the Yankees at home tonight. So travel day didn't allow for much breathing room. So if the Red Sox had the day off today, then that would give Durbin the opportunity to really evaluate and rest it and figure out truly where he's at. But for him it doesn't sound like he's in too bad of a spot. And with the x-rays coming back negative, that's huge news for the Red Sox because they can't really afford to lose who has arguably been their hottest hitter overall in the month of June. So hopefully he's feeling okay and is able to continue playing without facing an IL stint. So many players that have dealt with injuries for the Red Sox this year. Romy Gonzalez getting really close to coming back, should be able to come back in the next couple days, assuming things continue to go well for him this week in Worcester. And he had told me when I spoke with him in Portland last week that was his plan, was to be back during this upcoming series against the Yankees. So he's going to take some at-bats with the Woo Sox this week and then kind of see how things go. But getting a guy back would be huge, but it would be bittersweet if it meant Caleb Durbin was going on the IL, since he seemingly has started to figure things out at the plate ever since he started working with a private hitting coach. He's been able to hit with a lot more confidence, and it's been great to see that as somebody who's been really rooting for him to turn things around. You want to see guys like that succeed, and with Durbin and with the expectations put on him and the piece of the future that he's going to be for this team, it's good that he's been able to start to figure things out and get himself on track from a hitting perspective. So hopefully he's able to avoid an IL stint. That would 100% be ideal. And as for the Red Sox, I don't know how much hope I have, but I appreciate you tuning in and making this show your first listen of every single day. Please be sure to continue tuning in Monday through Friday. Even though the Red Sox are terrible right now, I still try to provide engaging content. So make sure you subscribe and follow the show on any podcast platform so you get all of the latest episodes. You can also follow me on social media at Gabby Maljanian on Twitter and at Gabby_Maljanian10 on Instagram. You can also follow the show on Twitter at LO_Red Sox. Plus, if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Red Sox ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to LockedOnRedSox.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, I now send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, for your second listen, go check out Locked On MLB. Thanks so much as always. Keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.